Hi, my name is Rita Bailey, and I'm a member of several faith-based social justice organizations. So I'm going to direct my comments to the aspects of climate change that as they affect the poor, the marginalized, and in particular our First Nations people. And based on social teachings, we are asking our government to guide Canada as it transitions to an economy less dependent on fossil fuels. That's been covered already tonight, and I think most people of faith definitely agree with that. But our take on it, on the why, is partly based on the fact that the earth is sacred and its resources are to be shared by all. Nobody owns it. Corporations don't own it. For too long, those of us in the northern hemisphere have taken more than our share of Earth's resources, and this has to stop. It's time to develop an economy here that's modeled on sustainability and not on continued growth. We also have to look at our international aid agreements for countries that have experienced the worst effects of climate change, particularly those experiencing drought, such as Ethiopia, India, and the Middle East, those experiencing climate disasters like hurricanes and typhoons in Central America and in Asia. And just as in our cities, the poorest suffer most during heat spells, so the world's poor countries suffer the worst effects of climate change that we in the Northern Hemisphere largely have caused. And it's our responsibility to help those countries by supporting projects that mitigate the effects of climate change. So one way we can do this is to support small family farms, both here in Canada and in the Global South, through our national programs and through international aid programs and our trade agreements. Small-scale farmers occupy only 1/4 of the world's agricultural land, and they provide 70% of our planet's food. They use more sustainable methods than do large corporate farms. They produce food with fewer toxins and play a vital role in cooling the planet. So we urge our government to develop policies that support small-scale farmers. We must ensure our free trade policies do not restrict the land access of these small farmers in the Global South particularly, because that has happened in the past. We need to listen to the voices of family farmers through the organizations that represent them in all decisions that affect their land and their livelihoods. While we're on the topic of listening to voices of people where their land is affected, we need to implement the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. We have ratified it, but now it's time to implement it by respecting the rights of Native communities to control natural resources on their land and to be consulted on all policies affecting their land and water. Currently, the National Energy Board has failed to conduct meaningful and appropriate consultations with First Nations groups, such as the Gika and the Coastal First Nations opposed to the Northern Gateway Pipeline in BC, and the Chippewa of the Thames First Nation opposed to Line 9 in Ontario. The Government of Canada should immediately implement the right of Indigenous people to prior consultation and informed consent regarding any extractive industry that takes place on their territory, such as those in the Ring of Fire mining projects in Northern Ontario and the logging projects in Grassy Narrows, Ontario. All these projects contribute to climate change and are based on old models of economic development. A previous speaker said that the wealthy need to give up their wealth, and I think many of us who are opposed to some of these measures are looking at old models of growth and wealth and economics. These models need to be replaced by sustainable models that support the concept of the common good. I know this sounds idealistic, but at this time in history, we have no other choice. We must place people before profits if we are to survive. Thank you for allowing me time to speak tonight.